Okay, so speaking about Dan and speaking about your training group, I'm really interested to hear what a typical week of training might have looked like for you. And I'm sure this varies from from different parts of the year, etc. But how did it look?
Oh God, I mean, I know like the back of my hand. I can write a program right now, which is and it's been retired for 20 years.
Oh, perfect.
Um, yeah. Well, in the fall, I don't remember all those workouts. It was just hard. It was hard and painful. But coming into the season, I mean, we did power speed on Monday, so it'd be starts, lift heavy. Tuesday would be speed, more speed, but more body balancing. So not heavy weights, but we would hit the weight room. Wednesday would be speed endurance, so 120s.
Hmm.
Thursday would be rest day, but you'd expect it to be at the track. So you're doing boundings and stairs. Fridays we kind of repeat Mondays. Um, Saturdays would be long runs, so it could be 150 up to 250 and back down, cycle down. Sunday's rest day. We're expected to go and at least warm up, and then it starts all over again on Monday. There's 3 week cycles that Dan will adjust that based upon where we're going and what time of year it is. But yeah, I can literally can write all, I can regurgitate all that stuff, man. If I went to go and, which Dan is still encouraging me to do, is to go and coach someone. But I leave this to you guys. You guys are extremely patient. I do not have that kind of patience. I have no time to babysit anyone's kids right now. So if someone has my attitude and my talent, then I'll certainly go and coach them. But yeah, to your point from a coaching perspective, yeah, I do remember like every day what days were fun, what days we did, what days were maximizing in weights, and then you kind of like and then of course combine that with weight training and nutrition to kind of see how it is that you can maximize your body's potential through the year.
Okay, fantastic. And then from a from like a technical perspective, so obviously Dan's quite a technical guy or a very technical guy.
Right.
And I think like cueing is something that, and I say this to all the guests on the podcast, I find it interesting because I think it's so personal, so individualized. So what you know what you need to think in order to get your best technical positions might be very different from what Obadeli Thompson needed to think, for example. So were there any technical cues that you felt sort of like really resonated? So something where I don't know if you had like an aha moment where okay, I think of this and it all kind of starts to click into place.
Well, yeah, for me, here's what's awesome about Dan. We talked about him having many athletes that he's coaching. So if he had 20 world-class athletes, he was able to see you do a task in practice that he had written for you to do, and you can customize that for to capitalize on your own personal strength. So again, extremely incredible for me. There's a couple of things that happened to me. One, I have scoliosis. Two, so I every time I got in the blocks, I actually was like I had curvature of the spine, so I was never really comfortable in the blocks. Coming out of the blocks, I always was too high. So at no
Okay.
point, like when I watch like a lot of like the traditional guys, like from Arthur Bolden in my time, Frankie Fredericks in my time, to when I see Christian Coleman now, Marvin Bracy. When I see some of the guys that are just spectacular, I mean, like Asafa Powell was one of the guys that I thought was incredible. I was built more like Bolt, where I always came up tall and I came out wide.
Okay.
So it's almost like my legs were like unfolding because of curvature of the spine. So so my start was never really good. So we were just trying to practice consistency. He knew that my first 30 was going to be crap. He also knew that my middle 40 was going to be faster than anything that he's ever seen before.
Mhm.
So like he got me to practice patience. He's
Yeah.
like, dude,
Okay.
you're going to snatch them. So if you panic at 25 meters, you're going to get hammered. So it doesn't even matter. So there did a couple of races in my career that I panicked at the 10, 15, 20 meter mark. And I'm just like, I'm just going to shut it down because I already screwed up. But Dan would see my race and customize it to what it was. When I got to, the World Championships, when I got to the Diamond League or at least the Grand Prix
Mm-hmm.
that it was known at in 1994, so the Diamond League.
Yeah.
He just said, you got to, all you have to do is execute. They're going to hand out the medals at the 100-meter mark. You're going to catch everybody. No one has, the devastating high speed that you have in the middle 40. And as long as you don't panic in the last 30, you're going to be fine. So he kept like that was my thing. And he kept telling me that. So even in Atlanta, before we got there, apparently he thought I was going to break the world record. He thought I was going to run like 9.6 in Atlanta based upon what I was running in practice if I just got a decent start. He just said, don't sit in the blocks. Don't sit in the blocks, but don't panic. Oh, and what ended up happening in the finals in Atlanta was that we had 3 false starts.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want a false start. I didn't want to panic, but I also didn't want a false start. And what ended up happening, I was the 6th guy on the blocks. But I did not panic, thank God. And the world record came, and thank God for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember that race vividly from, I don't know, probably that's from like 2 a.m. back in my living room back in the UK. I remember staying up for it.
Awesome.
And it's really fond memories. And I think one of it was the next year where you're talking about patience. And I don't know if you recall your first round race from the Athens World Championships and the start that you got in the first round of the 1997 World Championships. And I'm guessing from your reaction that you do. But absolutely, you can see the patience. Like, I mean, you gave them a couple of meters by step one, but you just kind of like plucked them through the field, and it took a Greek record to beat you. I think it was a Greek record at the time that won that.
Right,
Pavlikakis, I believe.
But I got to tell you this though. So 1997 World Championships, I was injured.
Yeah.
I was like really injured. I got a 9-centimeter tear in my left adductor. And so Dan's like, okay, you can't panic and you can't take a flyer. So and also we can't tell the media Maurice Green was on
Mm-hmm.
he was on that year. But I've been so, like, for me, it was probably the best I've ever been physically prepared because I'd had such great base training for the 150. But in Athens, when you run the 100 meters, you do not need a reaction time for 800-meter runner when you're running the 100 meters, bro. And so, yes, you're right. I mean, but I was injured there. And we're just trying to muster up as much as possible, get to the finals, and to see what we can do. And you know what? All in all, it was a good day. I was still pissed off that I lost the 100 for that matter, and that's why I was insistent on running the 200-meter, the 4x1 relay. But yeah, I mean, you've seen some of those races that you kind of go, "What the hell is that guy thinking?" Well, I wasn't.
All right, excellent. Well, I know we've got just over 5 minutes left, so I just want to ask my final question. And you've spoken a little bit about nutrition and stuff. So, like, how closely were you monitoring your sleep and nutrition, and to kind of maximize your recovery away from the track? And what sort of strategies did you have in regards to your nutrition and sleep and recovery?
I mean, nutrition. Dietary advice and nutrition was what got me to where I got to. Okay. Let me say this. I qualify this. I've never really had a bad diet. I mean, I'm Jamaican. We don't. I mean, I was not a big fan of fried foods and all that before I started. But understanding what protein intake was, understanding what taking creatine was, understanding what vitamin B, vitamin C, understanding what magnesium and calcium was, contacting the manufacturer of those companies and understand how pure it is. Because again, not only are you getting nutrition and food advice, but you're responsible for every single thing that goes in your body. Understand that, and you're responsible. So If something happens to you where you get tainted stuff, that's still your problem. But nutrition, like dietary stuff, speaking of Dan and Mark Lindsay, that was basically my entire team. I mean, Mark was my therapist, acupuncturist, massage therapist, nutritionist, and Dan was like my board of advisors. So with the three of us would get together and go, okay, we can go to Whole Foods, and I mean, I'd gotten an endorsement from. I think that one of the first athletes that got that from Whole Foods. But we're getting things that were just pure, and things that the highest manufacturer standards. But food, um, uh, food intake, like hydration. I think that a big part of actually my injuries later on was probably lack of hydration, because I was one of those guys who didn't really like water. I'd rather have Gatorade or Cytomax at the time. But from a nutritional perspective, man, I gained weight very quickly. I understood. I mean, Dan insisted on me getting 8 to 10 hours a day sleep, like real sleep, not laying in the bed. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so and maybe that's one of the reasons why I hated practice, because believe me, I passed out by the time I was driving home.
Right.
But it's, again, real important for these kids. Anytime you get into a coaching environment, understand that your body is the greatest computer there is, and the greatest engine there is, and food is your fuel. And understand that you're an F1 car, and every single year, Dan would dismantle that, and we'll put that, and we clean everything and put that back together so that car's ready for every Grand Prix race. And understand your body is like that. You certainly can't take apart your body. You can break your body down and rebuild it every year. And I tell the kids, if you have someone who, one, is qualified, two, has the passion for that, three, done the research, know where all the fine products come from, and know where all the great food comes from, then you're 15 steps ahead of your competitor, that you're going to be prepared and healthy when any major championships come around.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. So I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times that you didn't like training. What was your least favorite session? Was there a day where you turn up and you'd be like, oh, not this?
You know what? I got it. So it was my long runs, and my long runs were anything over 150. I'm like, God damn, it's crazy, right? I mean, any long runs or hills, So usually the fall training, I hated practice every day, like every day, right? Because then it is absolutely trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so I understood, like as soon as I got there, especially the fall of 1994. So after my first real season in track and field, so my first base foundation training, I'm like, this is freaking crazy. This is madness. Like, I'm like, why do I have to do all of that stuff? Resistance training, all of that stuff. I just thought, hey man, give me some shoes, give me some 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and let me at it. I mean, that's all I wanted to do. But the long runs really kill me. Some of the lower body training, like low walks for done, all that stuff that just kills you. Yes, all of that stuff. I mean, listen, it got to the point, especially, in early 1995 when Mark was trying to, or did, basically try to straighten out my spine, straighten my spine, by using active release. So basically he's using his thumb, elbow, like whatever he could. I mean, so like times when I tell people, I'm like, dude, you understand how painful that is?
Yeah.
When you're competing, a guy's breaking down your tissue inside of your body, and he's trying to, and basically twisting you in a pretzel and trying to let you do the splits, and your body's resisting everything, and he's just going at it. Anyways, man, I mean, those are the times that I kind of go, and those are some good times, some painful times. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but yeah, you know what? Great times, all in all.
Yeah, okay. And I think like a lot of sprinters, you mentioned they're the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that they were kind of the favorite runs, like the short, fast
Perfect,
stuff. And yeah,
perfect day.
yeah,
It's a,
absolutely.
it's a perfect day to run 90s, 30-meter sprint floats. Perfect day, and then you go home. Yeah, but not when you got to run. It's got okay, a couple of 250s today. You're like, what? You've got to be joking, man. Or you got to do 152, 253, and then come back down again. Like, you've got to be kidding me, man. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Right, Donovan, I just want to, I'm conscious of time. I just want to finish off by saying thank you so much again for joining us. Really looking forward to the launch of your book. And is there anything that you want to plug? Do you want to plug social media or anything before I end the call?
Yeah. I mean, you know what?
Good.
Hey, listen, I mean, again, my I think that I spend a whole lot of time in business, but I definitely want to keep my thumb on the pulse of track and field. Talking to you and people like yourself definitely keeps me in the loop. Better prepares me for what needs to happen when I comment on the World Championships this year. Um, uh, there's a book coming out. I'm part of a consortium trying to buy a hockey team in Canada. We raised over $1 billion to do that. That stimulates me. That is my new adrenaline rush. And I'm going to continue to do business and continue to push and speak, about uh, what the great things that could happen in track and field, so that every single person that has dedicated and committed their time, whether it's the coaching or whether it's competing, that when you finish your sport, you've got a couple of bucks in the bank. You too can just go back and give back. Go to the local high school or local track club to give back and kind of help our next generation of track and field stars.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. All right, Donovan, I'll just finish again by saying thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, all the best with the hockey team, with the book, all the ventures that you've got going on, and looking forward to listening to some of your commentary in Budapest this summer.